Well, I'm sitting here watching a matchbox put my clothes. Well, I ain't got no matches, but I sure got a long way to go. To your big dog coat. Let me be your little dog to your big dog coat. And when your big dog gets you see how your puppy dog rolls. Well, all right, that's a little snippet from the song called Matchbox, which was written and recorded by Carl Perkins in the year 1956. And it was a very popular song among all the members of the Beatles. And so the Beatles used to play this song a lot in the Cavern Club and in Hamburg and a lot of their live engagements. Even before they had Ringo, Pete Best used to sing it and the boys used to play it. And then once they had Ringo, on a lot of live engagements still, once the Beatles formed and they had Ringo, they would still perform it at live gigs that they were playing, and John used to sing it. And then they actually recorded it on the LP called Something New, and Ringo sang the song. In fact, there's a fantastic YouTube video of Ringo Starr, Eric Clapton, and Carl Perkins playing Matchbox. So understand, when Matchbox first came out, the Beatles were young teenagers, 13, 14 years old, just learning how to play their instruments, and Carl Perkins had a very unique style of playing guitar, and he wrote some big hits back in the day. They were huge Carl Perkins fans. And so Carl Perkins was born in 1932, and he was born to a very poor family. He grew up in a small town in Tennessee, and he would hear some guitar playing music on the radio, and he just wanted to play guitar so badly, but they couldn't afford a guitar. So Carl's father made him a guitar using a cigar box as the body of the guitar and a broomstick handle as the neck of the guitar, and strung it together, and he had his first little guitar that was a cigar box guitar. And there are still some of these novel cigar box guitars around. But that was sort of a way to make a guitar at home back in the day when people couldn't afford real guitars. And a few years later, a neighbor of the Perkins family sold his acoustic guitar, and the Perkins family bought it for Carl to play. So now he had his first acoustic guitar. And he was hearing, a lot of country songs back in those days. And he was also listening to the Grand Ole Opry being piped in on the radio. But he also worked from dusk till dawn to try to get some money for the family out in the cotton fields picking cotton. And while he was out there, there was an African-American fellow who was also out there picking cotton with him. His name was John Westbrook, who Carl Perkins would affectionately call Uncle John. And John Westbrook knew how to play guitar. He knew how to play all the Southern blues guitar that sort of stemmed from the African-Americans in the poor South playing blues. And Carl just fell in love with the sound. He used to go and sit on Uncle John's porch at night learning how to play blues guitar. So Carl Perkins was able to sort of blend together the sound of the blues, the early rock and roll songs that he was hearing from Chuck Berry and others, and Buddy Holly, and also still maintain his country roots. And he developed a very unique playing style of sort of rockabilly, but it was very distinctive to Carl Perkins, and he really had a signature style way of playing it. And they were very poor, so occasionally he'd break a string on his acoustic guitar, and he couldn't afford to buy a new string. So he would do what you and I used to do when we were kids, and you break a shoelace. Rather than getting a new shoelace, you just tie the two ends together, but you have a little knot there in the middle of the shoelace. He would do that with a guitar string, and when he would slide up, he would cut his finger on the string where the knot was. So he learned that rather than sliding up to a note, he could just bend the string he was on and get the same note by bending the string. So he became very adept at doing a lot of string bending. I mean, you think about Chuck Berry. Well, we've got Carl Perkins really perfecting some of those string bends that we heard in the early days from some of these artists. Just put my guitar out of tune. So Perkins forms a band with his brother Jay, and they're playing all kinds of gigs as they grow up. And then he hears Elvis Presley singing the song Blue Moon of Kentucky on the radio, and he's like, oh my God, this, I've got to get with that recording studio. So he sends some demo tapes down to Sam Phillips at Sun Records, and he gets an audition, and Sam Phillips signs Carl Perkins to a contract. And within a very short period of time, Carl Perkins writes the song Blue Suede Shoes. He wrote it, he recorded it. And his version of Blue Suede Shoes became a #1 hit on many different Billboard charts, country, rhythm and blues, right across the board. It was a huge success back in the early 1950s. I forget the year, I think 55. And so now he's asked to perform Blue Suede Shoes on the Perry Como show on national television. So they play a gig in Virginia the night before, and his fate would have it as they're driving to the event to have this national acclaim, and Sam Phillips was going to surprise him on the TV show with his gold record. They get into an absolutely catastrophic car accident on the way there, I think in Delaware. And Carl Perkins is badly injured. It fractures 3 vertebrae in his neck. He's unconscious, lying down in a pond. He's drowning, and he doesn't know because he's unconscious. One of his bandmates saves him. The driver of the pickup truck that they hit dies at the scene. His brother Jay is badly injured, never fully recovers, dies a couple of years later from some of the complications. So it's a tragic series of events, tragic event, and now Carl's in the hospital for months at a time. And while he's in the hospital, Elvis Presley records Blue Suede Shoes. And he gets asked to actually appear on some of these national television shows and sing it. And for a while, he chooses not to do it because he knows the song really belongs to Carl, and he and Carl are friends from Sun Records. But eventually, as Blue Suede Shoes is sort of fading away, about a year later, Elvis, makes his debut with that song on some of the major variety shows of the day. And that version by Elvis Presley of Blue Suede Shoes really becomes the one that sort of lives on and becomes legendary. And the one by Carl Perkins is sort of forgotten about. In fact, I didn't hear the Carl Perkins version of it until just a couple of years ago myself. So Carl Perkins is sitting there in his hospital bed watching Elvis Presley sing his song on television, and well, the world's going crazy. So must have been a tough moment for him. Anyway, Carl Perkins wrote some other songs that the Beatles covered and put on their albums. These are songs that I really like. One of them is sung by George Harrison. It's called Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby. And the other one is called Honey Don't, which Ringo sings. So I like these songs really quite a bit. So I sort of splice them together into a little medley, which I'm going to do for you right now. Hopefully it'll come out okay. Well, I took some honey from the tree, dressed it up and they called me. Everybody's trying to be my baby. Everybody's trying to be my baby. Everybody's trying to be my baby now. Well, we went out last night, 4:30, 50 women knocking on my door. Everybody's trying to be my baby. Everybody's trying to be my baby. Everybody's trying to be my baby now. Walking home, I had 19 days. Everybody's trying to be my baby. Everybody's trying to be my baby. Everybody's trying to be my baby now. Well, how come you say you will when you won't? Say you do, baby, when you don't. Let me know, honey, how you feel. Tell the truth now, is love real? Yeah, honey, don't. Honey, don't. grass. You've been out in the town, oh, baby, been stepping around. Honey, don't, honey, don't, honey, don't, honey, don't. Baby, and you ought to know I like the way that you wear your clothes. Everything about you is so doggone sweet. You got that sand all over your feet. Honey, don't, honey, don't, honey, don't, honey, don't, a little honey. I say, well, when you hold, honey, don't. Took some honey from a tree. I dressed it up and they come on with me. Everybody's trying to be my baby. Everybody's trying to be my baby. Everybody's trying to be my baby now. Well, okay. A little bit of Carl Perkins. Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby by George Harrison and Ringo Starr singing Honey Don't. Two great songs by Carl Perkins, covered by the Beatles, put onto the Beatles LPs, and they're just delightful little tunes. So thanks for watching. See you next time with Beatlemania Revisited.